Okay, so we're going to make a grid for your mandala, and it's going to look a little bit like this. What you need to have in order to get your drawing started will be a piece of paper. You're going to need a pencil. You're going to need a ruler, and you're going to need a compass. Now, in the classroom, I have these safety compasses. You can use any compass that you have available. If you need to use a smaller piece of paper because that's what your sketchbook paper is, that's fine. Just make sure that you have something that you can make circles with, pencil and ruler. We're going to make a grid that has circles and squares and is radially balanced, which means it's all symmetrical around a center point. So the first part is defining our center point by making a vertical and a horizontal line. So in your paper, I'm going to work with a 12 by 18 piece of paper. So you're going to have to divide this. If you only have like an 8 by 10, then your mandala is going to be smaller. You're just going to have to measure, instead of if your paper is 10 inches, you're making your center points at 5. This paper is 18 inches across, so I'm making my center point at 9. So halfway across your paper, measure halfway across your paper, and make a mark at the center point, and do that twice so that you can draw a line down there. So like I said, if you have 8 by 10 paper at home that you're working horizontally, that would be 5 inches across. If you'd like to get paper from school, this is 12 by 18. So I'm going to do the same thing the other direction. I'm going to measure halfway across my paper. In this case, it is 6 inches. If you're working with 8 by 10, it would be 4. So measure your paper, figure out the halfway point, and draw a horizontal line and a vertical line that is halfway across. So now I have the center line vertically and horizontally of my paper, and I know that this is the center point of my mandala. So what I want to do is make 4 circles with that same center point, which is why you need a compass. The compasses that I have, I can put a pencil right here and use another pencil and draw. Basically, I want you to draw a circle that is the biggest circle you can create on your paper. So make sure you're using that center point and create a circle that is the biggest you can on your piece of paper, whatever size you're using. So you might have to come up with a good strategy for doing this, which is always tricky when you're not in the classroom, but just do your best. I'm going to now make 3 more. Going to get some good sharp pencils here. I'm going to make 3 more circles. I'm going to use, on this compass, there is a mark for 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch, and that's what I'm going to use. So whatever you're using, just try to leave a slightly equal amount of space and just have 4 circles that all have the same center point. That is our goal. We're basically making a target. And we're going to put in a couple of squares because mandalas use the symbolic images of circles and squares. They are both balanced. So that balance is like a physical representation of finding balance. That's all we're representing here. So I'm going to connect where my center lines meet my biggest circle. I'm going to connect those, and then I should have a square. And again, any directions that don't work with the materials and the scale that you're working with at home, just make do. You could even hand draw, if you've got a pretty steady hand, you could hand draw this and just try to make it look good. But I recommend using straight edges for your straight lines. Okay, now I'm going to divide this and make 2 more lines. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look first at this first line that I drew. For me, it's 7 inches. And I'm going to make a mark at half of 7 inches, which is 3.5. So measure how long that line is, divide it in half, and make a mark at the center point. And I'm waiting for that to unfreeze. There we go. So I've made a mark at the center point of that line. I'm going to put my ruler against that mark and against the center point of the whole mandala, and I'm going to divide the entire mandala in half. Do that again over here. Measure, divide in half, and make a mark where the middle is. And divide. Feel free to pause at any time if you need to figure out how to do these steps. All right, so now I have my mandala broken up into more sections. We're still working with radial balance, which is symmetrical around a center point. And now I'm going to create my second square, and I'm going to do that on the next biggest circle. So now I have these 2 diagonal lines. I'm going to make the points where the diagonal lines meet the next biggest circle, and I'm going to make a square there. Now, if you're using a different compass, you may have different measurements, so this may overlap in another circle. That's fine. You're just kind of creating a grid of circles and squares on which you can put designs. So even if your circles and squares don't look exactly like mine, if they're radially balanced and they're measured out nicely, that's fine. All right, so now we have all of our circles and squares. So now we need 9 places to put symbols. So the first place you're going to put a symbol is in this very center circle right here. I'm going to erase that center circle lines that are inside it. And whatever is going to be the most important thing to you, whatever symbol you come up with, the thing that is central to your life, that's going to go in that center circle. We're also going to put a place for personal symbols above, below, and to the sides. So in my case, I have on these safety compasses, I have a way to make a little circle, but you could find something like, let's say you found something like this and you just decided to trace it. You know, you don't have to necessarily use a compass. If you can make it look centered, you could trace something like that. And I could do that above, below, and to the sides of my center circle. I'm just going to use this compass. I'm going to put a center point and I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to use that same circle. I want my 4 circles to be the same. So whether you are tracing or you are using a compass to create some small circles, just to make sure that your 4 circles are as symmetrical as possible. So I'm going to edit that. And you're going to draw an awful lot on top of this. So if you mess up, it's not that big of a deal. You're gonna fill this whole thing with lots of details and drawings. I'm going to erase inside these points because I know that I want to put some drawings at these points in the circles, or I could even like edit this. If I decide I want to have a shape of a symbol here instead of a circle, I could erase that circle, but I know I have placeholders for now 5 symbols, the center symbol and these 4 symbols. The last 4 are going to be out here. So find a good sized circle and draw your circles so that they look the same in all 4 of those places. So now I have places for 9 symbols. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 placeholders for symbols. You're going to be creating some personal symbols to go in those 9 spots. And you're going to be filling the rest of your grid with design, details. You can add more drawings if you want. They can be more symbols if you would like, or it could just be patterns. But this is the mandala grid that we're going to start from. You can add lines in, you can erase lines, you can edit, you can go outside of the boundaries. You can draw a square to the outside of your circle and make that the outer border of your mandala. You can use some space around this circle, or you can just stick with this grid and fill it with design, and you'll know that you have a strong foundation for your drawing. So that is step one of creating your mandala drawing.